Rosie McQueen had come to Tulsa looking for a better life, a better existence. She had lived all her life out in Idabel, Oklahoma. She remembered the smell of her father's clothes when he had come in from a hard day at the stockyards. Mama always had dinner on the table hot for him. If not, she could count on trouble later that night, usually after Daddy had gotten a few beers in him. Rosie always heard the yelling behind the closed door. The walls of the trailer were thin, and the door to the bedrooms even thinner.
Rosie covered her head and cried softly. She didn't want to make a sound. She'd only made that mistake once, and only once. That had been when she was only 5.
Rose was 7 when her daddy had put the first wrench in her hand. Her mama could only watch as her only child, her girl child, was treated like a son. There was the occasional dust-up over it, like when Rosie was 12. Rosie went on one of many hunting trips with her father. But this year had turned out different. Rosie pulled off a perfect shot through the eye of a young buck. Her father was so proud he was completely sober by the time they got home with the head. The rest of the deer was already at the processor. Daddy put it in the refrigerator in his man shed. He wanted to get it to the taxidermist right away. It was important to immediately his daughter's first kill. He had the processor save the pelt, too. His daughter had been first before his brother's 3 teenage boys to get a deer. Mama had not been pleased with this at all. At first, Rosie felt like Mama was mad at her. But one night a few days later, Mama and Daddy were in another fight. It was louder than usual. Rosie realized right away they were arguing about her and the deer. Mama was furious. Rosie had been made to kill a living thing. She was angry. A 12-year-old girl had a gun. Daddy told Mama to blame herself. She gave him a girl instead of a boy. This would not be a problem, Mama told him. That was not her decision. He cut her off, yelling at her that they could have had more children if she hadn't gone and got the cancer. The doctors would not have taken all her lady parts. Mama yelled that was God's decision, not in her hands. Daddy slapped her for the Rosie could picture the fight in her head. She took her Walkman Mama had bought her at a used junk store in town and turned on the AM/FM radio bit featured on the old piece of audio equipment. Thankfully, Mama had invested in a cheap pair of earbuds with the old-style jack on them. It was getting harder to find them with iPhones and wireless earbuds everywhere. It was 2020, and her parents weren't going to let her have anything to do with the present. On a good night, she could pick up a station out of Texas or Arkansas. Sometimes, if she were really lucky, she could get a good clear signal from 10 or so stations around Idabel. Mostly gospel or country stations, and those were the old country stations. Other kids had phones and iPods. Her parents had forbidden the internet in her home. They didn't ever have a computer until she was 16. That was when she started applying for college, and the school required she do some of her homework online. Rose's world opened up with the laptop her parents were forced to buy. It was a weekly payment at the local rent-a-center place until Rosie got a job at a mechanic shop her daddy knew the owner. Rosie started learning to drive as soon as she could see over the dash. Truth be told, her father got her a learner's permit to keep from getting another DUI. Mama got slapped again for pointing this out. To start earning money for college and pay for the computer she had to have for school, Rosie's father helped her get a job at a local garage. It was part-time, but it paid by the job. Rosie had gotten into Votech class through high school. She got all the good certifications. She passed the test faster than the boys in the class. Likely cause her daddy had her turning wrenches almost since she could walk and talk. As far as her money, after the first few times, she learned not to show Daddy how much she made from work. He took it and said he was keeping it for her. But really, he just drank it down at the local bar. Rosie hid half after that. Out of the amount she showed him, she went down and got her one of those prepaid cheap phones. She gave the number to them and told them, since she was driving, it was in case something bad happened or they needed her. It didn't take long for that idea to stick in her parents' heads. As far as the rest of the money she was getting, she kept the two amounts separate and showed him what she was pretending to only earn and hiding the reset. She knew she could placate him with half the amount. The rest she hid in a hole in the trunk of her car. She built special while in Votech class one day while she had goof-off time. A place her parents would not look. The old primer red 74 B210 Datsun ran like a sewing machine on wheels. Now she was in Tulsa and managed to find work at one of the oil lube places after showing she had all those Votech certifications and proved she could change the oil and lube just about anything with wheels. She was excited to find out it paid better than what she expected. It would cover the lot rent at the RV park. Apartments and houses were expensive in Tulsa, so she had decided to take her daddy's old camping trailer. It was an old 80s model Nomad. A small one, meant really for no more than a couple of people. Her daddy and her had taken it deer hunting a couple of times. Now that her daddy didn't have any need of it anymore, she had it to use for college. Mama didn't want the thing around and thought it was a good idea for her to use it. It was the cheaper way for Rosie to get a place to stay while in Tulsa. Rosie found the cheapest place she could. A place called the Millbrook RV Park on the other side of Sand Springs, Oklahoma. Sand Springs was outside of Tulsa, less than 5 minutes away from the city limits, and it put Rosie 15 miles from college and 10 miles away from work. Rosie had been moved into a space right next to this giant fifth-wheel RV that the park manager, Jeannie, said was a nice lady. She was an RN for the city of Tulsa by the name of Penny, and to make friends with her if she had the chance to. It didn't take long for Rosie to meet Penny. One afternoon on a Saturday, Rosie had her grill out in front of her trailer. She was just getting ready to light it when she heard footsteps coming around with purpose. "Yep, thought so," said Penny as she stood there with her hands on her hips. "I'm sorry." Rosie sounded a little offended as she said it. "Oh, honey, forgive me. I'm Penny. I'm your neighbor. I came to invite you to dinner and just barely beat you to making yourself dinner. Put all this away. I got steak and beer for us over there just waiting, and some of the best sushi you ever had," Penny said. "I ain't never had sushi," Rosie admitted. "Today you will. Come on, it's about to rain anyway." It was only a minute after she said that, there was a roll of thunder and a light rain started to fall on them. Rosie remembered that the park manager, Jeannie, told her Penny was someone to make friends with, and Rosie knew she was going to need friends in this new, strange place. She'd already seen some very strange things, and this was the least strange thing. Having a friend like Penny was going to be a good thing. Rosie could feel it.